We are glad you can join us today. I think we'll go ahead and get started. Again, we ask the reporters, when you ask a question, to identify yourself. And when you're not asking a question, if you would mute your phones, that would be really helpful. And we'll go ahead and get started. I don't know if Roger or Brad want to start, but take it away.
Let's have Brad start. I'll go ahead and kind of give everybody a situational update of the past 24-hour operational period, and then you guys can direct, if you care to, more specific questions to the task force, and that way if Roger has to go, then he's free to do so. So in the past 24 hours, Nebraska Task Force 1 is still in the Katy Mobilization Center in Katy, Texas, which is the base of operations for nearly every federal task force and asset that is there. They began their operation yesterday and concluded with a total of 30 evacuations and then 2 imminent rescues of some elderly individuals that were in chest-deep water. As you can see, the number of evacuations and rescues are continuing to go down, which is an exceptional thing, which means we're in the process of getting everybody out of areas of peril. That being said, there's been a transition in the Houston area to some search operations to begin a primary search. So we're trying to transition out of the initial attack and rescue mode within the city of Houston, kind of going over to the search to account for those that may still be there and clear maybe some of their missing persons or something that they may have concerns with for the city of Houston. Today for the task force is kind of a day, and for some of the task forces, a day of rehab, restocking, and resupply as they sit within the mobilization center, and gives them time to add another reconfigure their assets into something that can be quickly deployed out of that mob center. As everybody knows, if you've been watching the news, there's some concern with Hurricane Irma that is stirring out way out in the Gulf. And at a more global perspective, if you will, that's also become a concern of additional rains that may come this way, or if it makes landfall somewhere else. And it's easy to divide, if you will, some of the assets that are here and move them to that theater of operation should the need be. So it gives, since everybody's been in blitz mode and working exceptionally well, it's kind of a time for the task force to play catch up, just rehab, restock, do laundry, the camp kitchen and stuff, which Chief O'Neill can address down in theater that aids morale is there. Additionally, the Nebraska Task Force 1 is continuing to staff the decon corridor with their hazardous materials technicians. Big compliment from Omaha Fire and Lincoln Fire, which are doing a lot of the decontaminating of all vehicles and personnel as they come into the mobilization center in Katy. One additional nugget, if you will, you can imagine, in addition to Nebraska Task Force 1 doing outstanding work in the theater of operations, 2 babies have been delivered out in the field by various task force. And to my knowledge, unless Roger corrects me, it was not delivered by folks from Nebraska. But nonetheless, 2 babies have been delivered in the field, and potentially, I would imagine, maybe with the middle name Harvey. So that, and then there's been no talk about demobilization or leaving at all because of the storm stirring up, and so right now it's kind of in a lull. There are still very active areas around the Houston area, and I will preface that as when you push a lot of water up a hill into North Texas, that water has to come back down somewhere. So the threat of, as this water makes its way back to the Gulf, that some areas of imminent peril are sure to pop up, and they're planning that, thus the need for the mobilization center where they are to be able to reconfigure assets into some faster response teams that can go multiple directions should that need arise. I know Nebraska was asked yesterday to reconfigure their task force on a moment's notice out of my shop to potentially either be airlifted or moved by ground, if possible, to the Beaumont, Texas area, where they're moving a mass amount of individuals via C-130 cargo planes from the Air Force to Dallas, Texas. to a mega shelter due to the loss of all water and it being cut off from anything else. So the flexibility by the task force to be able to reconfigure at a moment's notice, be able to split the team and respond to another mission is kudos to the Lincoln, Omaha, Papillion fire folks and our civilians that are just, Semper Gumby, always flexible, ready to meet the mission. And then at the last minute, it was decided that the airframe to get them there was more detached to transporting the people than getting them in and stuff. And I believe Colorado was there assisting at the present time. So that is kind of the 24-hour situational update, if you will. And I know you're all tired of hearing me talk, so I'll let Chief Bonine, who's actually working with the task force away from me from Houston and leading those troops and doing great things. You can direct, I suppose, any of your inquisitions to him as well.
Thanks, Chief Savanav. Nebraska Task Force 1, I can't tell everybody how proud of these individuals we are. We have people from Omaha, Papillion, Lincoln, other different places. We have civilians. Everyone's doing an outstanding job. We're all a little tired. Today we're in staging. We're expecting to get pushed out probably around lunchtime or something like that, but nothing has been confirmed. Being staged is actually a good thing because, like I said, people are tired. We're getting our equipment back in order, getting some laundry done, things like that. We've been pretty busy. Everybody was happy to see the sun finally start shining on Tuesday. We were beginning to wonder if it would ever shine again and quit raining, but we're happy about that. Spirits are good. Things are going well, and I'll take a few questions.
Roger, Michael Connor with the World Herald. I know your team down there has done a lot of rescues. Is there one or two of them that really stand out, because of the circumstances, the challenge of it? Is there even one, in particular to talk about that you always remember?
Yes. The other day we were tasked to extricate an elderly female that was bedridden. Her and her daughter were in their house. She'd been lying in water for a couple of days. When we got to her, the water was rising, and she was definitely in peril. I was pretty proud of our crews because it took us 30 minutes to go a circuitous route to get over Buffalo Bayou to get to a place where we could launch. We took us about an hour and 10 minutes to do that. We drove about 30 miles. Our guys were able to launch our boats and be out in the water, and we had our boat in about 30 minutes after we launched. The other one came yesterday. There was two elderly people trying to walk upstream against the current. They were definitely in peril. I think they probably would have drowned had we not heard them. And we were able to rescue them into a boat and get them to dry land. Those are the two highlights in my mind.
Roger, Riley Johnson with the Journal-Star. How does this compare in terms of the conditions you guys have been encountering to previous hurricane response efforts by the task force?
Well, the last deployment for a hurricane that I was on was Katrina, and in Katrina we came in 2 or 3 weeks later, where command had been set up and we were doing search operations at that time. And this time we were in attack mode. That's the way our IST describes it. We're in attack mode. We're actually out doing boat extrications of people in peril. We've done a lot of extrication work, evacuation work, and some rescue work. So this is the first time, to my knowledge, that NETF1 has been in the position to be in theater as early as we were.
Nick Starling with KMTV. Roger, could you talk a little bit about how your mission kind of changes in terms of as the water recedes, what you guys are seeing out there, and also your possible move as well to maybe Beaumont, Texas, and that sort of thing?
Well, I can't comment on the move to Beaumont. I'm not sure where that is. I just take directions from our IST and try to do what they ask me. So I don't know what's going on there. I haven't heard anything more about that. As far as the mission changes, we early in our deployment, we saw a lot of people that really wanted out. Now the water's starting to recede, and it's somebody that's been in there for a while, and maybe they have a medical condition. They're tired of being in the water. They want to come out. Their house may not be completely flooded. They may have a upstairs that's under, it's not underwater, and their ground floor is. So they're calling us to extricate them or to evacuate them out of the sea. So we have transitioned somewhat from the real emergent response to more of a just we need to get people out of the water. But occasionally emergencies happen. Somebody's been without medications for several days, something like that. So emergencies do happen. And we are dispatched to those, just like a fire department. They give us a sheet of paper and say, you need to go here. We go out and try to help.
Riley Johnson with the Journal-Star again. When you guys go out to these response, how far are you shuttling them to get them to kind of a handoff point?
Riley, that just depends on how close we can get. The flooding down here is catastrophic. There's times where you can't even recognize where the roadway is. Our procedure is we get as close to the water as we can. We back the boats in. We unload them. We try to get as close to the person as possible. But you have to realize that there's a lot of flooded roads, and not having previous intimate knowledge of the neighborhood sometimes makes that a little bit difficult. But we do the best we can. We use a lot of mapping, cell phone maps, like that to get us close. Then we launch the boats. We always send a swiftwater boat and a John boat if it's safe, and we'll send them to the address where we load the patient up, and then we bring them back. Houston's been pretty good, and I would love to say good things about the citizens of Houston. Early on, people were volunteering their time. They drive their private vehicles there, and we were loading these evacuees into their vehicle, and they were taking them to a collection point and then on to shelters. So the people of Houston are fantastic. They've done a lot of good things for us, and they're very, very appreciative of having us here.
Maurice Cole with WOWT. Just wondering how you guys are doing, your morale. You mentioned for the last week you've kind of been in attack mode. So how's everybody just doing mentally?
I think mentally they're up right now. They're in a good spirit. They're working hard. And while I think they need rest, if I went out and asked any single one of these individuals, they would tell me that they're ready to go and they want to go. Everybody is very dedicated. They're hardworking. I can't say enough good things about them. I'm very proud of them.
Roger, any injuries that your team has had, or everybody in pretty good shape?
Everybody's in good shape. We have some blisters and walking in boots that are wet, things like that. But we've had no serious injuries. And in fact, we've had almost no injuries, bumps, bruises, scrapes, things like that, but nothing serious.
Working in such dangerous conditions, is that due to the training of the individuals that helps to keep you safe?
Well, I will say our team is highly trained, and we have good safety officers that try to identify hazards and communicate that. I'm trying to keep command staff with every team at all times if we can, and some of it is we're lucky right now. We just haven't been in those situations. Not every team has been as lucky as us.
Hey, Roger.
Yes.
Hey, this is Eric Jones from Lincoln Fire and Rescue. The administrative secretary wants to know if you've seen any alligators or snakes.
We have seen a snake yesterday. That's the only thing I've seen. Yesterday they reported the people we were taking out in an apartment complex said, "I can't believe you're walking by that fence. There's alligators in there." But we didn't see any of them. So those are hazards. Teams have encountered deer that are trapped in the water. They've encountered armadillos, things like that. But Nebraska hasn't seen anything like that, to the best of my knowledge.
This is Michael Connor with the World Herald. I wonder if you could just tell us a little bit about what, as far as the count of folks you've helped rescue or evacuate, where's that at roughly now? Just a ballpark.
Michael, I don't have that information in front of me. I know it's in the hundreds, but I didn't bring that with me to this brief. Sorry.
And I can add a little bit more to that. If I keep the running total of just the hands that Nebraska has assisted, they are approaching around the 1,500 mark that Nebraska has either done individually as a task force, if you will, collectively as a task force, and then assisting others in theater, because a lot of times they're meshed with other swift boat crews and other military assets and stuff. They've had a hand in approaching 1,500 was the last report to me at a command level.
Roger, when your task force goes out, what time do they start and when do they get back? How long are your days?
Well, I'm attending a briefing at 0700 in the morning. The other morning, I received a page about 2 hours after I laid down to sleep, about 5 o'clock, and we were tapped out to go do some rescues. And we were on the road a little bit before 7. We didn't get back until almost 10 o'clock that night. I don't like to work in the dark. Our crews are so dedicated, they would work all night long if I'd let them, but operations at night are exceedingly dangerous, and I would just as soon stay away from those. So I practically have to drag them out of the water to get them to quit. Someone asked me about memorable extrications or evacuations. One of them I forgot was our first operational mission on Monday morning. The days are kind of running together here, but we were tapped out to do a extrication of a rehabilitation nursing facility here in Katy. There was approximately 90 patients and about 25 workers, children, except that we moved by HPVs along. We worked hand in hand with Texas and Ohio to do that. I can't say enough about how well the teams are working together. If one task force needs something, the other task force has it. We're doing resource sharing, and we're making the operation work. Of those people from the nursing facility, I think there was 20 or 25 of them were bedridden. It had to be lifted up into a HPV and extricated that way.
Any other questions for Roger or for Brad? Any questions for the crew back here? I know Chief Despain is on the line.
I would just like to, this is Chief Bonine, I'd just like to say thank you. We appreciate all the support, and I'm going to go see if I can find us some work. Thank you.